welcome to my channel, Haylee Marie Vintage. Today I have an upcycle sewing project for you guys. So let me show you what we're working with. Today I have 3 towels, like kitchen towels. They're labeled as kitchen towels. I feel like modern kitchen towels aren't this giant, but as you can see, it has like this cute border, these clovers. It's very luck themed. There's like a wishbone, and I have it in 2 more colors. I have a yellow and a green. So that is what I'm working on today. I'm going to take those towels and make them into this beautiful blouse. I have made this pattern before. I made version 2, which is very cute and like a little bit more prim. My plan for this one is to make version 1 but with short sleeves, so the more pointed collar. On the one I ended up making, version 2, I shortened the sleeves quite a bit so they were very like prim. But this I want to keep very much more like casual. I know this doesn't look cowboy feeling because it's like a 1940s, 1950s, but like I want it to be a lot more masculine looking than the other one I made, which is why I'm going to stick with a pointy collar. I have not decided yet if it will have the pocket. I think that will be decided based on what scraps I have left over of these tea towels to be able to make it. I think my plan is to have like 1/2 yellow, 1/2 green, and then the back red, because I feel like the red doesn't mesh as well visually like as up front, if that makes sense. I might bring like the red in on a pocket if there's the right section of tea towel for that. I have no idea if I even have enough fabric technically with this, but we're gonna give it our best shot. The most complicated thing is going to be the cutting out of the fabric. Normally I feel like I kind of breeze through that bit, but the placement here really matters and is going to be what's most important to the rest of the project. So you're gonna have to watch me cut a lot of fabric, and I did a bunch of squats yesterday, so I'm a little sore for cutting fabric. So we'll see how that goes. This is going to be a like relatively cheap project because the towels were given to me by a friend, actually the same friend that gave me, I had a corduroy skirt that I had made. This is the second thing I took from her stash. I'm really excited to use it. I think it was her husband's mother's towels. I'm just really excited about this project. This is a little bit different than some of the upcycles I did, and that I'm just using kind of fabric placement as opposed to kind of stitching a whole thing together. So I think it will be really interesting to try something a little different. And I have quite a few linens that are going to fit more into this category of an upcycle in the future. So I want to give this a try on like a less complex linen because there's no embroidery. Like this is just a printed linen. I'm not having to worry about cutting into edging or cutting into embroidery to do this. So this is going to be a good test case for a more like normal linen project, for lack of a better term. I don't need to talk this much. We are gonna hop into me cutting out this fabric, but first I have quite a bit of ironing to do. These got quite wrinkled after I washed them, and I should have ironed them then, but I didn't. So first I'm gonna iron, and then I will see you on the cutting floor. So first things first, I'm going to be cutting this out. This is the most important part of this project. Like, I'm not worried about the sewing at all, but the cutting out makes me a little nervous. So my plan is for the front of the shirt, the collar, and the sleeves to all be cut out of the yellow and green towels, and then I'm going to try to get the back on the red towel. I think that's about all I will be able to fit on the back. And I rarely do this, but I am actually cutting every piece separately because I'm going to make sure everything perfectly aligns with the patterns, so that way this ends up with a really great looking piece. So yeah, I'm putting this down piece by piece, cutting out piece by piece from the green to the yellow towel to make sure the halves look very symmetrical, since we're already going to have a little bit of chaos happening with the colors. And this is where your reminder is that I do have a Patreon and a Ko-Fi where you can go find my monthly memberships. The perks of that is you get access to polls to help control future projects, as well as early release on videos. I try to release videos Monday. Sometimes it is Tuesday because life happens, but the goal is usually Monday. The back was very straightforward because I could just fold the towel in half. I made sure the print was aligned, and then I just cut out the pattern. So with the way I needed to cut the shirts, I actually didn't cut the facing piece of the shirt. So because of that, I'm going to real quick trace that piece right here, and then I will be cutting that out in the like scrappy parts of the towels that are left, because I just need it to be the same material. I don't need it to look amazing. And then the bonus is I also get to use this as my interfacing pattern piece. which is what I'm doing here. For this project, I'm going to interface like the buttonholes and then the collar. This is a pretty stiff fabric, so I'm not too worried about anything else. So first things first, I will be ironing on all of the interfacing using a press cloth. This is pretty self-explanatory. I do need to remember to reorder the fusible interfacing or maybe pick some up when I'm in New York. I don't quite know, but I need to figure out getting more interfacing because I am getting down. I actually only buy this every few years because I just buy it kind of in bulk, and I'm now getting down to my last bit of scraps, so I need to do a reevaluation. One of the things I'm going to sew together early on is the collar. I ended up having to cut the collar in 2 pieces because that's the space I had on the towels, and I also thought it would be nice if the collar was kind of like an opposite color situation as well. So I think it was nice to get the yellow and the green there, even though it was a necessity purely from a piecing standpoint. I'm also going to continue along that theme by sewing on the facings, so that way all the pieces are as planned and I can just follow the instructions as they go. And once the collar pieces are stitched together, I can interface that, which is pretty exciting. The print is still very vibrant on the back, so I was pretty nervous that I thought I ironed it to the wrong side, but it's just that the back is very, very vibrant as well as the front because it is an actual print. With my piece now whole, I am going to mark the darts. I did mark these initially when I cut, or I guess these are technically tucks, not darts, but some of the blue ink got lost in the pattern of this like clover shenanigan, which is totally fair, so I had to go ahead and mark it again in some cases. And once I have those marked where I can actually see them, I'm going to pin them together. And I'm just sewing those tucks in. I am able to do a reverse stitch at both the top and the bottom of the tuck because it is a tuck and not a dart, which is always exciting because I get to avoid knot tying. And while sitting at the machine, I finished the edge of the facing. And now I am pressing away, getting those tucks put in and all finalized and good to go. And here I am running some basting stitches to do the little tiny gathers above the bust. This is a substitute to a side dart, which I appreciate because a side dart could have really made the towel pieces of this shirt make the pattern stick together weird, if that makes sense, like the print, not the sewing pattern. And from here I'm just pulling these gathering stitches, making sure they match well with the top yoke pieces, which I'm excited. They're going to be a cute little opposite stripes on the very top. I think they're going to look great. They'll be a very subtle detail you won't notice if until you're really looking, but those are the type of details I do really adore. And after sewing those down, I get to yank out the gathering stitches. Because towels are generally really tightly woven, I'm just using pinking shears for the finish of this top. And with the front pieces all put together, it's now time to get the back together, which involves making just a few more tucks. These ones are much larger, and I think there's just 2 of them, and that's pretty normal on the back of these because you just need it to gather the shirt nicely in the back. And once those are sewn, I get to pin the side seams and the shoulder seams together and get a really good idea of how the pattern matching is going and everything like that. Spoiler, it's going really well. I'm really excited. And after sewing them, I am finishing those seams again with the pinking shears. And now I'm hemming the bottom of the shirt. The focus here isn't great, but I'm just doing a simple double turn hem. It doesn't instruct me to hem the hem yet, but I just wanted to get it done because I feel like the less you have going around on your machine, the cleaner it is to do finishes like these. And now I get to focus on the collar, which is just 2 short seams. And after pressing those down, I was taking a look to decide which side I would go with that I thought would be like the cutest for the collar. I don't care if it's like opposite or the same as the side as everything else because this is just going to be kind of patchwork mishmash as required by the pieces, and I think I want like more of the polka dots up on the collar, so I ended up going with that side. Once that is decided, I am going to pin that down, and then I'm going to grab a strip of bias binding that I real quick cut out of some scraps, and that will be the facing that bridges the gap between the 2 front piece facings. And once that is sewn, mind you, I did have to unpick several times to get some pretty bad pleats out. After I did indeed get it sewed, I am going to do a very careful job clipping all my corners and curves and things like that and getting this pressed out really well. On a button-down shirt, the pressing that you do is absolutely vital, so it's good to be really intentional about getting it correct. And now I get to pop in those buttonholes. I did not make a disaster unlike my last project on these, and the buttonholes turned out perfectly and I did not have to unpick any of them, thank God. And with the collar, button, and basically main part of the blouse done, I'm focusing on sleeves, starting by putting in the gathering stitches on the sleeve heads. And once those are all put together, I am sewing just the tiny little side seam. And because the sleeve's not on yet, I thought now was a good time to start thinking about tags. What you see me doing here is I am unpicking the original tag that came on the kitchen towel before then stitching it in, as well as my label. So I have both the little original, I think it's like a Wonder Towel or something wild like that, and then my label next to it, so it is clear that I made it, but it is also an upcycle of a towel brand. And I'm continuing along by easing in the sleeve to the sleeve head. I am getting excited. This is really shaping up and I can see the finish line in this project, which is always exciting. And with this sleeve eased in, I am first sewing it down, and then here you can see I'm going in with, this is just some random cotton bias tape that I bought really cheap that I'm going to use to finish the seam. And here I am getting the bias to submit to a double fold, so that way it completely covers the unfinished seam. So the reason I don't pink in the sleeves is because just in general, your sleeves take a little bit more aggressive wear on the seams. So I would rather have them finished with a bias tape, both so I don't get little stringies in my armpits, but also because it just reinforces the stitching lines. So if you were to like tear anything, you have 3 lines of stitches, because I have the original one, then the bias one, and then the one where I did the double fold to help keep that shirt together. So this is my preference on finishing. And now it's time for me to finish up the sleeves by stitching down the hem. I decided to stick with an invisible hem for this because I was feeling kind of particular. Oftentimes with something that's like more of an upcycle, I would keep true to the original finish and do a double hem, but basically the same as a double turn hem. But I thought this shirt was really beautiful, so I wanted it to have that hand-stitched look on the sleeve. For the buttons, I decided on these really nice dark cherry red buttons. So basically my problem was my buttons were either way too yellow toned, like as far as red, so they were almost too orangey. There just was a hard time matching this red, and I felt like this red, it just flowed well with the colors, so that's how I ended up choosing it. I also didn't have any correct greens or correct yellows, so this was a bit of a struggle to find a button. And then I gave this a quick water bath to get rid of all of the water-soluble pen I had all over this. And after that, I am now going in with fray check. And then after letting it dry, I am opening it with a seam ripper and my little scissors. And with that, we are ready for the reveal. I can't wait to show you this amazing upcycle. So you have seen the reveal of this one. I am so happy with how this project turned out. But before I talk about my final wrap-up thoughts on this project, I'm going to do my usual cost breakdown. So for this project, it was pretty cheap because I got the fabric for free essentially, since my friend gave me those towels. So I was pretty excited about that. And then as far as notions between the thread interfacing and buttons, I paid $6.79. And the last thing was the pattern, which I have used this pattern twice. So I took the amount of the pattern and I divided it in 2, and we ended up with $9.76 for that, which brings us to a grand total of $16.55, which is fantastic. If you've looked at upcycled pieces, they're often 55 plus is about what I found on Etsy. I couldn't find a ton of like comparable blouses, but what I did find was like genuinely minimum $55. So being able to do this for $16.55 is pretty neat. Granted, it is majorly helped by the fact that I got the linens for free. If you have to pay for the linens and you live on the West Coast, it's actually quite hard to find quality linens for this price. As far as how long this took to make, this was a pretty fast project. I'd made this pattern before. The thing that slowed me down the most on this one, it was cutting it out, just because I was trying to be so meticulous in how I matched up everything. But the sewing itself went pretty quickly, so it took me about 5 hours to make this project. On this channel, we talk about a living wage. I'm already debating readjusting my living wage for this year because of how much my personal grocery bill has gone up, which is crazy because I have stopped buying meat and my grocery bill still goes up, 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 up. So I'm gonna probably look at another readjustment, and I'm trying to decide. I kind of feel like a living wage should include being able to buy a home, and the living wage I have right now, the $35.39 per hour, would not allow you to buy a home. It would allow you to have a little bit of extra cushion, have an emergency fund, but I keep kind of debating on the true definition of a living wage, because I do think part of a living wage is being able to afford a home, or at least that's like how it's always been in America, right? So give me your thoughts. What to you actually constitutes a living wage? Because if you think about childcare, like I know several people who pay basically college tuition to have daycare for their under fives. But yeah, no, I've just been kind of thinking about how low this living wage even feels. Like this living wage would be, I guess, appropriate for me because I have no children. But if you have children, I don't know, it gets really complicated. So yeah, I would just love to get some of your feedback and thoughts down below. My current living wage also wouldn't cover, it would cover a 1-bedroom apartment. It would not cover a 2-bedroom. So I don't know. I'm just thinking about a living wage. We're gonna multiply the 5 hours by $35.39. That brings us to a labor total of $176.95, which would bring this blouse to a price of $193.50, which actually, considering what I've seen in the upcycle market, I don't think it's like super far-fetched. I mean, I personally would not pay that for a blouse because I sew. I have been also kind of reflecting on what I would be doing right now if I didn't sew to try to like achieve buying more ethical fashion, and I think it's just really, really rough out there. But yeah, no, I've just been like kind of full of thoughts. I did recently finish, not to derail us too far, but I did recently finish, I think it's If the World Stops Shopping. I did the audiobook form, but honestly the narrator was pretty rough. A lot of people I know have said this book has like kind of really changed their way of thinking. I think if you're a beginner in sustainability and talking about sustainability, this is absolutely true, and I highly recommend this book. I will say, for me personally, as someone who I would like, I guess I would rank myself relatively advanced in sustainability. That sounds really strange, but like I feel like I see through greenwashing really easily, and like I'm very skeptical of sustainability claims, and I do a lot of research if I'm really trying to buy from a company that is touting sustainability claims. So I would just consider myself generally more advanced, and I've been thinking about my own consumerism for at least 4 years. I just finished up in February a no-buy month, which was really interesting. I broke it once for a pair of lashes. I got suckered by those TikTok magnetic lashes. So I don't even recommend what I broke my no-buy month for, but it was really interesting because I actually didn't really miss purchasing things as much as I thought, and that has not been true on previous no-buys. Previous no-buys have been really hard. I also did this one in a more like sustainable, not like earth sustainable, but like sustainable for me to achieve way, in that this time, as far as like I allowed myself, like I've been working out again, and I allowed myself to get the next set of dumbbells so I can continue to improve that performance, or whatever you want to call it. I allowed myself to break it for like, I don't want to say needs, because I wouldn't say like a new pair of dumbbells is a need, but like something that I know like I've thought about and will like generally improve my life. I'm just perpetually thinking about consumerism and consumption, how what I buy impacts the planet and therefore the people on the planet. A reminder that like the United States is feeling a lot of crazy weather. However, when you actually look at the people most impacted by climate change, it is people who are also the ones that usually we are exploiting via labor practices and things like that, where the manufacturing and the chemical dumps are happening in their backyard. So even though we are definitely feeling effects here in the States, it is not nearly as bad as other regions of the world. Anywho, enough depressing derailment. But yeah, check out when the world stops shopping, or if the world stops shopping. If you're just looking for something to kind of get you motivated, I mean, even if you are more advanced like me, it was worth the listen. It wasn't my fave necessarily. Like, I definitely thought Consumed by Aja Barber was better. Here, I have a shirt. It's cute. I adore this shirt. I wore it to work. It is so comfy. I also actually like the shirt not tucked in, which is not how I feel about a lot of shirts. I think that's just because some of the bottom is tucked in when I tuck it in, and I do really love the way this turned out. I really, really, really like this piece. Don't think this is like the most creative piecing I've ever done or anything like that, but I do think it's just really nice to have the linen dresses I have. I adore. I love wearing them, but it's nice to have something a little bit simpler that is also upcycled like that to wear out and about. I don't know, honestly, I think I sewed this pretty perfectly. We do have like a tuck in the shoulder right here, which you can't really see from back there, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna get up to show you my mistakes. But yeah, I only really have like a couple tucks in the collar, like under the collar, which is not too bad. Otherwise, I think it's pretty excellent. I had also though made this blouse before, so I knew what I was doing. I think the sleeves are eased in really, really well. It's a really cute piece. It makes me super happy, and I love I think this is like luck themed towels, because these guys are like weird little rabbit's foot, and obviously there's clover, and I guess elephants must be lucky, and then we have like the rabbit's feet, the wishbone, the horseshoe, and I guess 7-Eleven must have been lucky when this towel was made. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with this. I think it is so stinking cute, and I would basically change nothing about it. The pattern that I used, I really like. I would definitely recommend it if you can find it in your size, because you can make it like this with the tucks in the front, but if you want something with like less waist shaping, you can 100% make it without the tucks in the front, and then you just have like a really simple, nice yoked shirt. I don't know, I feel like I don't have much to say about the garment itself other than I love it. I'm proud of it, and also it's so soft to wear. I enjoyed wearing this, making it, the whole thing. Yeah, and as always, you can support me over on Patreon, where you get a first look at videos. I try to post the videos that go up on Friday, on Monday or Tuesday. It's been a bit of a struggle, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm going to continue to fulfill that promise to my Patreoners, whatever. And I am also posting polls and things over there. I actually really need to get on top of that. I need to post a poll ASAP, because I need to work on a new project this Friday, which is when this video goes up. So I need to get it together. I've had a very, very, very busy week. We have some fun things coming soon. I went to Glenna's. I went to Sew Expo with Stephanie Canada. I'm going to Miniature Convention today. And then tomorrow I'm going in to get my hair done, which usually takes about 6 hours. So busy, busy, busy week. You're gonna see a lot of great content around all these things coming up on my channel. Let's see, any other plugs I have? I guess, as always, you can also support this for free by giving it a thumbs up or commenting down below. I will always keep every single one of my videos free and available to the public. So if you cannot afford, I know things are financially rough right now, if you can't afford the Patreon, you're not missing out on content. I know this is a terrible sales pitch, but yeah, I don't want to. I know people like the reliability of my videos coming out at the same time every Friday, and it brings joy to their weekend. And in such a hard time right now, I don't want to pull anything back on that. Yeah, those are the free ways you can support me. And of course, if you have not subscribed, be sure to subscribe down below. I post every single Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, and I will see you next week. Bye!